Hey y'all, this is John Trent from Bounding into Comics. How you doing today? We got a big rumor, Star Wars rumor, and it involves none other than Captain Marvel's Brie Larson. You just knew this was coming. Larson had been hinting about it pretty much all year. She said she wanted to be a Jedi leading up to Captain Marvel. She was talking about being a Jedi with Samuel L. Jackson while they were promoting Captain Marvel. And then she made an appearance at Star Wars Galaxy's Edge where Ahsoka Tano actress Ashley Eckstein fawned all over her in an Instagram post. So this rumor shouldn't come as a surprise. I'm actually more surprised it hadn't cropped up before. But this new rumor says that Disney and Lucasfilm are looking to have Brie Larson become the next lead in one of their Star Wars films that could either be in Rian Johnson's Star Wars trilogy or this series of Star Wars films that the Game of Thrones creators were announced to be helming. The rumor comes from We Got This Covered that indicates that Larson would still reprise her role as Captain Marvel in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, although they did not announce any Phase 4 films with her or that specifically involved Captain Marvel. They did announce the Disney Plus Miss Marvel, which one would indicate or one would think that Captain Marvel would be involved in that. But it's unclear whether or not that will happen. But they want to keep her in the MCU and become the new face of whatever this new Star Wars trilogy will be or series of films would be. So let's kind of dig into this. The rumor comes just after another rumor where that said that Disney was losing faith in Brie Larson. So you have a little bit of conflicting rumors there. But then let's kind of dig into there's a lot of rumors surrounding what's happening with the future of Star Wars after the Rise of Skywalker that comes out in December. So first off, let's talk about Rian Johnson's trilogy. There's been tons of rumors throughout the year, even after The Last Jedi going back into last year, that he was done at Star Wars after the fan reaction and the absolutely negative reviews he was getting from fans. Even though they had a huge box office, it didn't look good, and you saw Solo bombed just six months after The Last Jedi because no one was interested in what Star Wars was selling. So you have all these rumors that Johnson is out. There's even a rumor that Johnson can't even talk about whether or not he's out or whether or not his trilogy is still happening. And then you look at Weiss and Benioff. We actually have some hard details on kind of where they stand within the Star Wars universe and within Disney and Lucasfilm. Disney CEO Bob Iger appeared at the Moffett-Nathanson Media and Communications Summit where he stated, quote, "We did a deal with David Benioff and D.B. Weiss, who are famous for Game of Thrones, and the next movie that we release will be theirs, and we're not saying anything more than that about that," end quote. So, as I stated, Benioff and Weiss were supposed to do a series of films. However, a report from The Hollywood Reporter indicates that might not actually be the case anymore. The Hollywood Reporter stated that their deal might actually be up in the air with Star Wars, especially after they signed a deal with Netflix. So this is what THR said, quote, "Sources say the Thrones pair is writing a treatment for a Star Wars trilogy and is committed to penning at least one of the films." So that's very different from working on a series of films, which is what they were originally announced to be doing. So now we got Lucasfilm President Kathleen Kennedy. She's also weighing in on this. And she said that, quote, "As they finish Game of Thrones, they're going to segue into Star Wars. They're working very closely with Rian," end quote. So that also contradicts what their original announcements were. When they originally announced the Benioff and Weiss series of Star Wars films, they made it very clear that it was separate from Rian Johnson's previously announced trilogy. But now it looks like they're possibly working together if we believe Kennedy here. And then if you want to make matters even more complicated, Disney has only announced 3 new Star Wars films after The Rise of Skywalker. Those Star Wars films are expected to debut in 2022, 2024, and 2026. It's natural, and I think it's safe to assume that all three of those films are going to be one trilogy. They're not going to be starting points for a new trilogy. You won't see a new trilogy in 2022 starting off, and you won't see like a brand new trilogy in 2024, 2 years after that. I think they're all probably part of a one new trilogy. So if the rumor from We Got This Covered is true, it's possible Larson could land the role of Mara Jade. Earlier this month, there was a rumor that Disney and Lucasfilm were looking to bring Mara Jade to live action. We wasn't really any more details other than that. But back in 2018, in January of 2018, Lucasfilm Story Group member Leland Shee did indicate that there would be a number of Legends characters making their way into Disney's Star Wars official canon. And this is what he wrote on Twitter. Quote, "You wouldn't believe some of the Legends characters that will be cropping up in various media in the coming months." End quote. So once again, that was back in 2018, but it's possible those plans could be that they might have been having for Mara Jade back then. They could have been just delayed. It does seem like that there were rumors about an Obi-Wan Kenobi film, and now it looks like that's been repurposed into a Disney Plus series, which they announced at the D23 Expo with Ewan McGregor on stage. So it's possible that this Mara Jade might just have been pushed back, and these Legends characters that they were introducing might have just been delayed. But what's even crazier is that we've got a previous We Got This Covered rumor that indicated Lucasfilm was looking for a woman of color to be a lead in a Knights of the Old Republic adaptation. That rumor claimed, quote, "It's apparently important for them that the pics feature a diverse cast with a female person of color in the role of protagonist." So I mean, they're thinking, I guess, that there's still multiple film franchises being developed within Star Wars. I'm not sure if I really believe that, given we've only seen that they've announced 3. I think there's possible much more opportunity for them to develop on Disney Plus rather than in the feature films if that's gonna happen. But these rumors all seem to be indicating it's film, not Disney Plus. So my take on all these rumors is that Disney has no idea what they are doing with Star Wars, and they haven't had a clue since they bought Star Wars from George Lucas and decided to throw his treatments for a sequel trilogy in the trash, as Bob Iger recently admitted. Star Wars Galaxy's Edge is also an admitted disaster with significantly decreased attendance and reported massive construction delays at both Disneyland and Disney World for the Rise of the Resistance ride that's supposed to be in Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. Also, Solo, A Star Wars Story, was a complete flop at the box office. Disney admitted that in their Q3 financial report. They also admitted that Star Wars merchandise sales have significantly declined. That's mainly because no one is in. My thought is that no one wants to purchase Disney sequel trilogy merchandise. They just canceled Star Wars Resistance animated series when they announced the first trailer. They announced that they canceled it when they released the first trailer for season 2. So that got yanked after 2 seasons. They tried to say that it was like, it was coming to the conclusion of the story because it leads into Rise of the Skywalker. But if you look at the actual numbers that they were seeing, significantly lower than Star Wars Rebels. Star Wars Resistance was seeing around 300,000 views per episode, whereas Rebels was at the least amount was around 500,000. So it's a huge decrease. And as we said, they weren't selling merchandise, so the show probably wasn't doing what it was intended to do, which is usually to sell toys. And there also appears to be little to no excitement about Rise of the Skywalker. That kind of comes from looking at Google Trends. There hasn't been a huge spike. There might be a little bit of a spike when we see a new trailer, but I mean, if you look at it and you look at like Last Jedi and Force Awakens, you saw these huge spikes on Google Trends. We have not seen that at all with Rise of the Skywalker yet. And this is a huge prediction here. It might be possible that Jumanji with The Rock and Kevin Hart might be able to defeat Star Wars at the box office in December. I wouldn't be surprised if people are going to go with Jumanji over Star Wars if they have a choice, given what we've seen with The Last Jedi and the flat trend on Google Trends with excitement. As far as Brie Larson, if Disney wants to bungle Star Wars more than they already have, hiring Brie Larson and allowing her to use the franchise as a prop to promote her political activism, it's clearly a winning strategy. Go for it. Embrace Brie Larson. She admitted that she took Captain Marvel's role to promote her political activism, and that's certainly what she did in the lead up to Captain Marvel. She's already doing with the MCU. Might as well just get a double dose with Star Wars, and we can just shut the door on both those franchises. Despite how much painful that is, we will always have the original trilogy and the prequel trilogy, Star Wars Rebels and the Clone Wars and the extended universe. They can't wipe those out. That's my take. What's yours? What do you make of this rumor? What do you think is going on at Disney? Do you think they are going to bring in Captain Marvel to Star Wars? My name is John Trent, and you've been watching Bounding into Comics. Until next time.